If you've been chronically online for this past week, you've probably seen the World Cup and all these kind of different nations coming to America for the first time. For many, many years, a lot of these countries, they've kind of been ragging a little bit on American culture in general and kind of how the way of life here is a little suboptimal. But if you sit back and think about it, is it really suboptimal? Is America really as bad as people say it is? Well, today we're going to be getting kind of my thoughts on the topic and I guess what my 2 cents are and what I think about it. So sit back, grab a snack, and I guess let's ask this question together here. But when you ask somebody, I guess, about America, the first thing they're probably going to talk about would be that politics system and all that stuff, how poorly managed systems are. When you've seen everybody come over, they were not worried about that stuff. All those different nations, when they came with their people, they didn't really think about that stuff. What were they thinking about? It was food. Food. If there was food, these guys were coming for it. You guys ended up coming over for a week and reminded us just how different food is here compared to anywhere else in the world. One of my favorite hobbies actually in this past week was just looking to see all the things people were eating, just random foods to them, but regular foods to us. We have been desensitized at that point. Now, especially as a man in Texas, seeing all these Japanese people come down here and just tear apart our brisket, not gonna lie, it had me kind of shed a little tear of joy. But also when I see British people discovering Chipotle or that type of stuff. But these people, they're all coming from different walks of life, and they're coming here literally being amazed just based off the selection of food options here, which makes sense why a lot of us are obese in their eyes. I kind of had that mental click in their heads. But the selection of options here really is extensive, and many of the people were literally totally in awe, even extending past food, just visiting a Costco or a Walmart, even Targets. The second I seen somebody enter a Bass Pro Shop in that rifle section, I audibly let out a hell yeah. Who I was in that moment when I had that realization of low-key how good we have it is a light switched in my head. Man, maybe America really isn't as bad as people do say, and even as bad as my family and even at times what I have said. Now, the ability to kind of just walk into a store and just purchase anything you want, whether that be a 5-pound beef stick or just 20 things of eggs in one sitting, if that was your goal at the drop of a hat, these people are amazed that you're able to do that. And I guess that really is the freedom that does come with America that a lot of nations really don't have. And I think that's something that is really lost on a lot of people nowadays when you kind of bring that topic up. And when people bring up the land of the free, that's what they mean. Look how free we are. We have infinite food, air conditioning. You could walk down the street one day and get a multi-million-dollar job. Opportunities as such. That's what made America pop. And honestly, I kind of feel bad for a lot of these people going back to their home nations. They don't got the AC. They can't go from 100-degree weather, or they don't even have 100-degree weather a lot of the places. But they're not going to be able to get inside to an AC. That's a revolutionary technology right there that they're missing out on. But when you actually kind of sit back and think about it, though, yeah, what I said was nice, but it isn't all butterflies and rainbows, especially when we do bring up the fact of institutions, systems, and the government. Don't get us started on any of the politics and kind of all the proxy wars that we pay for to just keep our economy afloat. That's a topic for a different day. But I think the biggest hair in the soup when it comes to this country is going to be its leadership. In my opinion, I believe that when all the old heads, they just don't want to leave power. But when the time does come, they end up dying because, people are old. They're all old. They're all 50, 60 plus, which makes no sense because, you see people like JFK That man was like a 40-year-old president, which don't let me get distracted on that type of stuff. But it brings me to that next point of kind of systems and institutions. Like, you could be the most right person doing the most right, noble cause, but a system loophole will get you out of here and, like, could concern you, like stop a very good lawsuit that you have against the company against you, literally having you take a loss on the chin even though you are right. And the thing is with like the systems, like it rewards the lawyers who find those loopholes and attack them and literally point those out, because it ends up saving those companies a lots of money and a lot of time. And with our systems being directly tied to companies with like our legals, a lot of our laws are literally enforced to make these mega corporations' lives a little easier. And that is something that isn't hidden. It's very blatantly showed in America. For example, you kind of walk down Times Square, you're going to see billboards of companies, products literally being shoved down your throat. And, you know, you're just like an ordinary dude just walking down the street. Or, you know, you'll hear of some story online on like TikTok, for example, that bricks and minifigs situation where they stole Legos to the point where the corporate office literally would have successfully stolen hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of Legos without even a slap on the wrist if it didn't have the media coverage that it did. Now, I'll imagine like how many other companies are going through that same kind of system and getting away with it. That is the current state of America with the loopholes. And even when you are right in a situations, companies have so much protection and legal protection even, that even when you have a case, you don't have a case. A lot of these companies know the people that are suing them are just regular working class people. So what is their game plan? They have a whole lot of more money. They could just do long, drawn-out legal battles and financially tear apart the other person, literally destroying the person suing them for their wrongdoings. They're going to destroy the person that's calling out what they're doing wrong. And something like that wouldn't be such a problem if if the government would actively, look into it, but they're actively backing the system, if anything. Instead of running investigations and such like that, they're getting paid by the companies to enforce or make people live a little more difficult life. For example, circling back to that bricks and minifigs situation, like the CEO literally got with the police department to hunt that dude suing them. Like to hunt him down and fish him, basically. Fish him for any arrests to get him just out of the way. Now, imagine if he didn't have the media coverage. He would have gotten away with that. And imagine how many other people's do. And that, as an average Joe, just sitting back watching that whole entire interaction, it makes you go kind of what the fuck? There is especially in America, there is a certain level of hopelessness in knowing that if I was right in a situation just because of a company demanding so, I could still be wrong. And that is mostly because, and this brings me to our next point, which is going to be government corruption, which I can make an entire video on government corruption in itself, and I probably will. But even then, you don't need to be a genius to figure out what's going on. You just need, a computer or something. For example, AIPAC, aka the United States of Israel, is literally a group. If you sit back and observe it and think about it, it is literally a group of officials in our government that are getting paid out by another nation to make decisions for that nation. What? You sit back and think about that for a minute. Thank you so much. Donations that are it is insane when you sit back. And it's kind of like a coercion tactic as well. It's smart of Israel to kind of do that. If I sit back and actually observe it, all you got to be is hey, you want my money? Hey, I'm not going to pay you anymore if you don't listen to what I say. It's kind of like a coercion tactic, like I say. If you want my money, you got to do what I say. And that's the thing with these people. They fold so quickly. Like, these people are getting bought out and folding so quickly. I've even seen people do 4 or 5 figures being bought out. Like, you're going to sell out your entire country for that little of a price? Like, in my personal opinion, everybody associated with that, like, that is actual treason. That they literally work for our government, but are getting ordered from another government because they're getting paid to do so, while still in positions of power in our government. It is like clearly our government and a lot of our systems work against citizens. But that there is, like, it is kind of annoying, but at the same time I've noticed like citizens literally working against themselves. Now, you may ask, like, what do I mean by that when I say that? Now, this brings me to negativity and kind of just depression in America, which really is one of the hugest issues, kind of just due to our dopamine receptors being absolutely fried today. Like, small things that one person in an underdeveloped country might enjoy just seems like regular Tuesday for us. Like I was mentioning with, like, food and such, like, we're very much desensitized to what's going on as a society over things that seem crazy. Something small as, like, an extra large Diet Coke, to something as big as, being able to buy an assault rifle. And a lot of these other peoples, they can't even buy knives in their home countries. So we're kind of like that, in my opinion. Like, it feels like we are that spoiled kid who literally has a lot of things, but is still complaining that our new pony is purple instead of orange after their parents bought it for us because, they felt bad that we heard them arguing. That's kind of like our positioning as Americans, a lot of young Americans as well. And I just like that scenario. You just got to, like, wait your turn in that type of seat to be in that parent spot and learn off of the mistakes of the past to build off of. Like, when you sit back and think about it, a lot of the bad that actually goes on in America is usually just internal. Like, stuff you don't really see day-to-day life. Like, whether that be a grimy politician that you heard about, like, on the other side of the globe, or, the mental struggles inside of people's own heads, or, people's own delusions as well. Like, a lot of that is really true. Like, a lot of the time I've really noticed an unnatural hate of America, like unnatural hate. And it usually does coincide with delusion or ignorance, but at the end of the day, your life around you is going to be what you focus on. If you're focusing on the negativity of the country, you're going to be negative all of the time. And that's where a lot of people get stuck today, especially people Gen Z, millennials, like people in my generation. They're having an ignorant, like, delusion at that any other place that isn't America is going to be better than America, when realistically, like, based off the stuff that we have here, there isn't really a place that is better when you sit back and actually examine and think about it. Like, I have sat back and tried to think very deeply about it. I mean, unless you're living on international waters, like, there's not really a place that you have more freedoms or anything like that. But I mean, there is always going to be some type of trade-off, whether that be an AC or, 10 pounds of meat being purchased in, like, a single shopping spree. But just goes to show, like, if you don't like the structure, you're going to have to literally trade off AC and being able to just buy whatever, whenever. Trade for, like, America, of course, is that we do got bad politicians, bad systems. But honestly, like, if you think about it, the younger generation, like, we are all already aware of that. And we wanted a change. We're literally just staying patient until all of those toxic, people in power just end up dying anyways. And then at that point, once new faces get into power, dismantling a lot of those systems will be a different monster. But cross that bridge when we get there moment. But for the meantime, like, really staying patient, counting your cards is really the best thing you can do as an American. The housing market sucks, which I have a topic for on another video another day, but I really didn't touch into that. But main reason why the housing market sucks is because of the systems that mega corporations own 80% of the houses here, which hikes the prices up like crazy. So as long as there's a system correction to that, even that can be fixed. The point being is, like, a lot of the issues in America could be switched with a simple change of leadership and time. And by the end of the day, it really is the best country on earth just based off the freedoms of the regular, living, normal, breathing person. Like, as long as you're not paying too much attention to all of this stuff, because honestly, a lot of it doesn't really affect us in our day-to-day lives. Like, you will look around and see a bunch of people living very happy, great lives out here. And that really is just the argument of perception versus perspective. But, tell me what you guys think. Like, do you think America really is a bad country? Or do you think it's just in a bad spot at this time period? It just needs to kind of make its next few moves here. Right, but kind of let me know in the comments what your opinions are, and be sure you do like and subscribe. Of course, I am a smaller channel, so anything does end up helping.